So the first thing we're going to do is working on releasing the upper back. So we're going to first start with the traps, and I'm going to spotlight Ryan so that everybody can see how to do that, and then you'll hear my voice walking you through. So that's Ryan over there. He's going to be showing you how to release the trap. So basically all you need to do is grab a ball or roll up the towel or whatever it is that you can have.
Oh, did I have a ball
I
in here?
thought you were prepared, Ryan.
Dude, you know what? I thought I was prepared too. I thought I had my ball right here. You know what? I'm just gonna use.
Never mind.
Here, I got it.
Let's come back to
Honestly,
me
look
for
around
now.
this.
No, let's just do it properly. So I will show you guys how to start with the traps, and then we'll go from there. I'm gonna move the mic. So can everybody see me down over here? All right, so the traps essentially are these two muscles up on by the neck, and all you need is like a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball or whatever it is. You can get creative. Golf balls might be too small, but then if you need a towel, you can literally just roll that into a ball, place that on the trap, and release that too. It's definitely softer, so if you have very sensitive traps, and most of us do, like going softer in the beginning is actually more ideal, so it's not like so painful. So whatever you want to use, literally just grab that. I personally like to use the opposite hand to place on the opposite trap, and then you're gonna lie down on your back. So I'm gonna use the other side so you guys can see. Lie down on the back, place it on that spot, feel that muscle like push into the ball. And if you can't feel it, all you need to do is like lift the butt up just a tiny little bit. Then you can move the arm up and down, and you should be able to start feeling that tissue start gliding underneath that muscle. Well, the muscle start gliding underneath the ball, which is gonna feel pretty gnarly. And it's one of those things when you find the right spot, you'll definitely know. And the whole idea is to move up and down about like 10, 15 times and breathe as slowly and controllably as you can to just tell the tissues, hey, that tension does not need to be there. You can let it go. Yep, you can draw circles with the elbows. You can draw, like you can move the arm across the opposite hip and move it across. Whatever feels good. And the whole thing idea is that the muscle won't completely release the first time you do it, or ever, essentially. But the tension can dissipate by like 1 or 2 points out of 10. So if it's like a 7 out of 10 tightness right now, if it drops to a 6, that's perfect. You can move around that area to find the next knot and then go from there. And make sure that you exhale all the way through, breathe out, make it nice and gentle, let that tension go, teach your brain that it's allowed to relax. Once that feels a little bit better, then we can easily shift to the opposite trap, so switch sides and work on that side as well. And it's good to notice like, hey, does one side feel tighter than the other? And you'll probably notice that if you do have like more tension or an injury on one specific side, that side is usually tighter than the opposite side because that's what's causing the issue a lot of the times. Perfect. We'll do that for like another 5 or 10 breaths. Move the arm around. Once you feel like it's relatively even on both sides, then everybody can pop back up and give me 2 thumbs up so that we can move on to the next one.
The towel works pretty well, actually.
Yeah, towel's great. That's what I love about home environment. You can get so creative with what you actually need, but ultimately you need a baseline first and then someone else to give you ideas of like, what else can I do? Like before my traps, when I had using balls or whatever, like I didn't have any of that and I'm at home, I usually just jam it into like a doorknob or like the edge of a wall or whatever it is. Like you can get really, really creative. Sweet. Okay, I think that's most of us. So that's the traps. And then just move it around, see like how the shoulders feel and everything. Like does the neck move a little bit better? All right. And if yes, 2 thumbs up. If no, like thumbs down. Awesome. Sweet. Okay, so that's the traps. Really, really important. This is actually one of the most overactive muscles in the body. So if we end up having a lot of neck issues, yeah, like shoulder problems, if we can't find the right muscles when we're doing exercises like rows to activate the back and stuff, these are, I'd say, 80% the most common cause of switching off the muscles that are supposed to help the shoulders engage. So if we open these up, the chances of the other muscles in the upper body coming back online is a lot higher. So highly recommend do that. Almost everybody needs it, unless you're so bendy that your arms can like fly straight behind your back. That's not recommended, but if you, most people can benefit really well from it. Cool. All right, so now we are going to do a subscap release. I'm going to pass it over to Ryan now. Are you good, Ryan? Do you have everything?
Yep.
Perfect.
Got my roller. All right, guys.
Awesome.
So what we want to do with your subscap. So subscap is part of your rotator cuff muscle. It's right in your armpit here. It's kind of deep. So go easy on this one. It can be a little bit sensitive, but what we want to do is take your roller. You want to lay perpendicular to the roller and just stick it right kind of in your armpit area there. So right where your shoulder blade kind of meets your shoulder there. And then just kind of look around for something that feels a little bit sensitive. And then once you find it, you might have to kind of lean back on it, so tilting your body back, and then can kind of start to either scrub forwards and backwards very lightly, and just kind of explore and move your body around in a way that feels like it needs it. And then just breathe. Remember to breathe through this one. So deep breaths. Once you find that spot, just slow down a little bit and work on breathing and trying to push into the roller a little bit. So we're expanding your ribs on that side. And every time you breathe out, just settle into that tension a little bit. 3 to 5 breaths on each side, and then go ahead and switch. Or on this side, and then go ahead and switch.
Yeah, so just a word of caution, this isn't designed for every single person. Some people, because this is a really, really sensitive muscle and it's very small. For some people, it's very, very overactive. And when you do this, like everything starts opening up. Other times it actually, like it could tighten things up a little bit. So if you remember the biofeedback thing we taught you guys on Monday. So you can do the release on one side, come back up, and then retest your biofeedback to see, hey, does the body feel a little bit better? And if it does, that's perfect. Keep releasing it. But then if it doesn't test very well, I don't recommend you doing that at all. Because that's just your nervous system saying, hey, probably not the best thing for you to do right now. There's another muscle that will probably be more beneficial. Cool. All right, cool. Did you already tell everybody to go on both sides, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so if you haven't done the other side, feel free to do the other side as well. Breathe into it, open it up. And then, yeah, when you're done with that, stand back up and then retest if the biofeedback got a little bit better. For the people who weren't here last week, as you guys are releasing, biofeedback technique is literally just seeing if your body responds well to a specific movement or not. So essentially, you're going to stand up and then just bend down and reach for your toes and see, like, what is the first line of resistance? So it's not about stretching as far as you can. It's literally just flopping down and seeing, hey, does my body respond well to this or not? So the first time you do this, basically you mark that off by your shins. So notice like my fingertips are like 2 inches above my ankles, and see like, okay, this is where the body's stopping you. It could be let me put it back on, my bad. So it could be like your hands could touch the ground, or it could just be like wherever it is. Just feel like what your body is trying to tell you to do. So if it's stopping you right there, that's a good baseline. That means, hey, that's as far as I can go. My body doesn't want to go any further. That's perfect. Then you're going to do any exercise and then come back up and retest this after. And if it gets better, it means your body likes it. If it doesn't, it just means your body is not designed to do that just yet, and there's something holding you back. So that is a quick way to teach, hey, is this something good or not good? So we'll do the test and retest after that all the time, okay? Cool. So for the people who've done their subscap and they released it and they did the biofeedback and it's good or bad, make a mental note. Next, we're gonna move on to the next one, which is T-spine extension, right? Back to Ryan.
All right, guys, so take your roller, and if you have a little bit of a firmer roller, you might want to put a towel over it for a little bit of padding. I'm going to do that because this thing is pretty unforgiving. So we have these ligaments that connect to all this tissue that comes out and wraps around our chest, and a lot of the time it's making our back and our neck and our traps just feel super tight, but the cause isn't always the neck or the traps or the back. So sometimes if nothing else is working, we can go to this one. And it makes everything feel just a little bit better and looser. So what we want to do is lay the roller vertically, and we're going to place the roller just like this on our chest, right? So we're going to lay down on the ground here. What we want to do is basically, once we feel some pressure here, don't put all your weight on it at one time. If you're a little too aggressive with this one, when you get up, it can feel like you got punched in the chest. So go easy. Start to put some pressure on, and then once you feel comfortable, somewhere you can breathe, we want to start to slide the roller off to the side, just like a ½ an inch. So I'm gonna roll my body to the left here, and it might feel a little bit sensitive. Kind of move your body around, see if you can find something that feels like it needs releasing, and just work on breathing into that roller. You can lay your head in your hands. We don't need to put too much pressure into this one, so.
Yeah, make sure you breathe into the back. Think that you're expanding your lungs and your back is pushing up towards the ceiling as your lungs are opening. As you exhale, breathe everything out and kind of just melt into the foam roller. Yeah, so if you feel like the foam roller is like pushing into the stomach, what you can do is kind of just lift the hips up a little bit so it's not as bothersome on that area. You can bend the knees a little bit more to the side. Yep, there we go. So it's just help support it. Make sure your neck is in a nice relaxed position. This will feel very, very uncomfortable for the most of us, which is usually why we actually need to do it in the first place, because if you think about the chest, it's designed to expand and contract when we're breathing. And if that does not move, then the rest of the body, the neck and the shoulders are going to start taking toll because the chest isn't moving the right way. So the more we can open this up and let air to allow to move a little bit more freely, the easier it is going to be for the rest of the body to relax in everyday life positions. So just think 5 or 10 breaths and then move on to the next side if you haven't already, which is ever so slightly shifting it to the opposite side of that sternum. Breathe into that, a couple of breaths. Make sure you're trying to relax a little bit more each time. And then relax the neck, relax the shoulders, relax the elbows, just sink into the foam roller. And then when you're coming back up, super slowly up so that the chest can, open up a little bit. And then retest the toe touch just to see like if your body responds to that or not.
And if you guys ever don't have a roller, rolled up towel works pretty well too, or a pool noodle, something like that. Something nice and soft. More is not always better when it comes to doing releases like this. So a lot of the time, the softer the object that you're using, sometimes the better your body responds.
Awesome. Cool. So essentially those were the 4 releases that we highly recommend. So the whole reason why is that we're usually stuck here the whole time, just typing or texting or whatever it is, that the head is falling forward and tilted upwards, the shoulders are shrugged up and the chest is compressed, right? So what we want to try and do is unravel the trap so that the shoulders can drop. We want to open up the chest and the sternocostal ligament so that the shoulders, the chest can slowly start opening up, and then opening up the subscap so it's waking up these tissues over here so that the shoulders can actually sit. Then we're going to move on to the last one, which is the T-spine extensions, where we're opening up the upper back. So it's teaching our spine that, hey, we can actually sit straighter again instead of being here. So notice, like, if you only do the back bend and you're opening up the upper back, but this is pulling you forward, we're gonna default back to this position, which is why we recoded this first. So we're releasing here and the front so that this is open, and then we can get the back to open. All right, so we're gonna go to Ryan again for the last release for the T-spine extension, and go.
So take your roller. We're just going to lay across the roller here. So put it right. We want it right around your shoulder blades level. So right around there. And just find something. This one might not be the most comfortable for everybody, but it usually feels pretty good. So one thing we want to make sure of when we do this one. So basically, we're going to have to think about rounding our upper back over the roller. But one thing that can happen a lot of the time is as we think about going over the roller, because our upper backs often get pretty stiff, we wind up with this. So my ribs are flaring out right here. So this isn't actually my upper back, that's actually my lower back, and we're trying to target upper back here. So I want to use my abs to kind of like knit my ribs in so that my lower back stays nice and flat. I'm going to cut my hands behind my head, so I'm interlacing my fingers here, hugging my elbows in. That's opening up my shoulder blades, allowing the roller to get to my spine here. And then you want to open your collarbones over the roller. So that's isolating the movement to your upper back. And it's really small. So we just want to breathe in as we come down, or in as we go up, and then breathe out and decompress over the roller. Glide your chin back, allow your upper back to open, and just try to relax as your upper back rounds over the roller a little bit.
You can kind of like hug the head with the elbows a little bit more so that you can isolate the upper back a little bit more. So keep your elbows close to your ears. Yep, and then exhale and push that head back down towards the ground with a nice low breath to teach the body to slowly let that go. Yep, and the whole idea is to try to think that you're only bending over with your upper body. Perfect. And then you can basically just do like a few crunches back and forth. So you're tilting back up. Exhale, head back down. Yep, so follow Ryan, look at that. You're doing like mini crunches. So each time you go up and back down, you're bending just a little bit more than you did before. And then once you've done that one specific spot, you can move down the foam roller, so towards your neck a little bit more to get to the next section of the vertebra. And then you can do a little bit more as well. So you essentially want to get closer and closer to the neck to teach all the joints to start moving a little bit more. It's not only one spot, but you'll start feeling that there's usually one section that just does not want to bend as much as the rest of the body. That's probably the section you need to work on breathing through and extending more through this range. And if all the other spots feel pretty good, then you can kind of just bypass that a little, but then focus on the spot that, yeah, is the most stuck, essentially. Awesome, perfect. When you're done with that, come back up and then retest the toe touch to see if your body responds to that, if you got a little bit more mobility.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Sweet. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Let us know. Perfect. Sweet. All right. All right. So basically, we talked about movements now. So we essentially, we did all the releases. So we did the traps, we did the subscap, we did the sternocostal ligaments in the chest, and then we did T-spine extension. So that's almost the most important parts in the upper body to get the spine to sit in a more neutral position. Second step is to start doing some resets, right? So remember, release first, then we're gonna do some resets, and then we're gonna do quick little activations, and then we're gonna do full body mobility flow after that. All right, so back to Ryan, we're gonna start with a supine open book. So basically you just need your foam roller for this one. Just for guidance, you don't have it, that's totally fine too. Back to Ryan.
All right, so take your foam roller, lay it vertically next to you. So we're down on our back here. What we want to do is roll to the side of the foam roller. Take your, I'm on my left side here, so I'm going to say take your left arm, stretch it out right in front of your shoulder. You want to take your leg and stack it right on top of that roller. So one of the most important things for this one is don't let your leg leave the roller. Do the best you can. Now what we want to do, stack your palm right on top of your bottom hand here. And we're focusing on the upper back here. So if your leg lifts, we're getting a lot of movement through upper back or the lower back. I'm sorry. So we just want to start going up with the breath. I'm going to take a deep breath in. I'm going to follow my hand around with my eyes here, allowing my upper back to rotate, letting my shoulder come all the way through. Still following my hand with my eyes and coming around. So notice we're getting a lot of rotation and extension and all these different movements through your upper back. So we get to use all that mobility that we just created with the roller. 2 circles up. And then we're going to reverse it as well. 2 circles down and then switch sides.
Yeah, so eyes follow the head, breathe through the whole movement. Yeah, try and make it as fluid as possible. And see if your body likes to like bypass a specific area or if specific places feel really, really tight. Try not to go to any point of pain though. If something pinches or pulls or pops or cracks, probably not the best range. Like go a little bit less than that so that your body doesn't hit that blockage so you can learn to move through it. All movements should not have any pain or tension. The less pain or tension you put into the body, the more it's going to respond and give you less pain or tension the more you progress.
And then if you need to, if your neck is really tired, you can take a yoga block or something and you can set your head on the block as well. Yeah. But if you can, I definitely recommend using the muscles in your neck to move around. Even if you're pushing through a little bit of fatigue there, because the muscles towards the front of our neck are usually a little bit neglected as opposed to the back of our neck.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Nice. Slow breaths. When in doubt, slow it down. Eyes follow the hand. Exhale through. And if you need more assistance, what you can do is take that opposite hand and pin it on that knee. So it's keeping that knee down. Yeah, so if you look at Ryan over there, he's taking his right hand, pushing his left knee down. So you can pin it, and basically that restricts the hips to rotate even more so that your upper back can turn a little bit further. There we go. Perfect. If you've done both sides, come back up, retest, see how those feel. Awesome. Perfect. So the next section is the half upper body rolls. So this is exactly the opposite of what we just did. So when we're opening it up, we're basically opening up the chest. So now we're going to activate the chest and the core muscles. So if you look at Ryan over here, what he's going to do is going to have his left leg up, and then is going to take his left arm and then reach across the opposite side of the body. Eyes following the hand, exhale, reach across. So notice is reaching to the opposite hand. The foot stays down onto the ground. And notice basically it's just the upper back that's rotating, and then you're coming back down and relaxing into that starting position. So you can either have that hand at the side of the body where Ryan's is, or you can have that arm above the head if you want to let the shoulder open up a little bit more. Yep, inhale on the way back. Nice deep breath in. Exhale, reach across. Nice and slowly, turn until your body naturally wants to stop you at a specific point. see where it's trying to stop you. Is it the hip? Is it the back? Is it the shoulder? Those are very good points to notice. But wherever it's stopping you, pause right there, take an inhale, and then roll back. So basically, you want to find that resistant point, breathe into that resistant point, see if you can allow that part to relax, and then slowly, like either your body is going to allow you to go a little bit further, or it doesn't want to allow you to go further, then you just roll back and repeat that. Perfect. So do that about 3 to 5 times on each side, depending on how it feels. And the whole idea is to just make it more and more fluid each time. Make the body connect more with this movement and teach the spine that it's allowed to rotate. And you can play around with reaching up, like above your head, or in line with the shoulder, or down to the hip, right? You're just teaching different ranges of where your body can go. It's like a baby when they're like playing around and they're rolling onto the ground, picking up an object. The object could be at any point of the on the opposite side of the body. So just like reach different areas to explore the joints to move in different ways. Awesome. If you tie the breath with this, it's usually super soothing. Awesome. Yep. And then if you're done both on each side, come back up, retest, see how things feel. Alrighty. Any questions on these so far? If yes, just hands up and then unmute and say something. If not, just double thumbs up and you're good to go. Sweet. Awesome. So essentially, we just opened up everything in the upper body. We've reset the nervous system to teach the spine that it's allowed to rotate. Now we can go into a full mobility flow, essentially. All right. So back to, Ryan is going to take you through the entire series. And then if there are any other questions and stuff after that, then we'll like come back and talk about how we can implement this into everyday life and what else can we do and get more creative from there. Okay, and back to Ryan.
All right, so the first thing we want to start with is going to be a kneeling calf stretch. That's something we did last Monday. All right, so basically we want to find this position on a knee, and I'll just go into just a second. I'll run through one if you're having trouble kneeling or if you have pain in your knee. I'll give you one to do in just a second here. But first, so just come up to this half kneeling position. I like to just place a hand or both hands on this knee here, and we want to try to push the knee past the toes here, and then we're going to feel a stretch in this lower part of the ankle, and then try to find a position where, like, because if you're too narrow here with your base and you're pushing forward, you're going to find that it's probably a lot of strain on your quad. But if we widen things out a little bit and you get a little bit of a hip flexor stretch as well, we can feel into that position a little bit more, and then just start to draw some circles with this knee, right? So we're trying to train this ankle to move with the knee, train the knee to rotate a little bit because we want everything working together. Do about 3 to 5 circles each way. And if you're getting a little bit of quad fatigue here, it's actually a good thing because we want this muscle to know how to work in this position with the ankle and the calf. All right, so if you're having trouble kneeling, you can totally come up to like a split stance position as well. And we're just going to do some easy little knee circles. Or if you want to, we can just go right into like a little calf stretch here. If you bend into the knee a little bit with the down dog position, then you're going to get that same area in the back of the calf there. I can't see everybody, so I don't know how everybody's doing.
Looks pretty good. Yeah. So they're doing
there
the
we go.
calf stretch now. Mm-hmm.
There it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. There we go. Awesome. And then I would like everybody to work on that down dog calf stretch as well, because it is going to hit a little bit of a different angle. So once you've done a few of those knee circles, and if you've been doing the down dog calf stretch, give your shoulders a break there. For everybody else, we're just going to come into this little high plank position here. Send your butt up and back. If you keep the knees straight, you'll notice that that stretch comes up and goes across the knee, maybe into the hamstrings. And then if you bend the knee, you're going to get pretty much this a very similar area to where you were before. So we're going to start straight knees here. We just want to get little calf pedals in. So we're alternating, bending, and straightening the leg that we're stretching. Just these little pedals. And try to really push through your toes to get that mobility or to drive your knee forward. And then keep that knee bent for a second there. And then just try to use your hands to push back into your ankle. So I've got one bent leg and I'm pushing back, keeping the knee bent and alternating in and out of that movement there. When everybody is good with that one, go ahead, give me a couple thumbs up. Cool, awesome. All right, cool. All right, so the next thing we're gonna come into is gonna be, where are we? All right, go ahead, come up to standing. Make sure I can see myself. So we did some ankle mobility last week, so now we're gonna start to train our active ankle mobility a little bit. So what we wanna do is just find about shoulder width apart. And then Andy, do you wanna explain the tripod just real quick?
Yeah, for sure. So essentially, you want to find the inside, outside of the foot. So Ryan, point to the tripod. So lift up the foot. Yeah, so you have the inside border of the foot, which is where that big knuckle is. You're going to have the outside of the foot, which is where the outside toes are. And then you have the heel of the foot. Those are the 3 points of contact that you want on the ground. So when you're standing back over there and the toes are completely lifted, you're going to try feel all 3 points of contact on the ground. So lift up your toes, Ryan. There we go. So if you lift up the toes, you want to pinpoint the inside, outside border, and that heel to be engaged with the ground. From here, then place your toes down. Perfect. Yep. So as long as your foot is fully spread out and you're finding those 3 points, that's essentially the tripod of the foot, and you're more stable over there. The second part is trying to guide your knees out towards the pinky toes a little bit more. So open up the hips. Yep. I think everybody can open up the hips just a little bit more so that the knees are pointing out towards the pinky toes more. Excellent. And then, yep, that's where we want to try and keep engaged with the ground the whole time.
Sweet.
Perfect.
All right, so we want to remember this position, right? Just like Andy was saying, we're going to start alternating our weight from left to right. So as we put some weight on the left side here, I'm going to lift, push through the toes and lift my right heel up. So we're using the calf here. We're just going to set that back down, shift weight to the opposite side, lift. Awesome. So we're getting that plantar flexion here, pushing into the ground. What we can do from here is we're going to work on, in a sense, kind of sprain proofing the ankles a little bit. So it's something you can do on your own. The more you can do it, the better. Never push past pain, all right? So we're going to come up, leave a little bit of weight. So with this one, try to stay as evenly balanced as you can. So before we were shifting to one side, here I'm going to try to stay centered and push through that foot. So I still have a little bit of weight on my ankle. So what I want to do is start to introduce little circles here. So I'm going to roll from my toes here. Looks like I'm kind of in a high heel position there. I'm going to roll to the inside knuckle, the inside tripod there. Set my foot down inside of my heel. Roll to the outside so I feel some of that pressure on the outside border of my foot. And then I'm going to push up through the outer knuckles of my foot. And then we're just going to do 3 circles one way, 3 circles back. If your ankles are getting a little bit tired, that's okay. As long as nothing is hurting, then I'm going to reverse that as well. So as you go through those circles, try to make it just a little bit bigger. And see if you can even add a little bit more weight to that foot. And when you're ready, go ahead, switch sides, other ankle. I'm gonna come up, rolling in, focusing on the inside border of the foot. Once my heel touches the ground, shifting out, pushing up through the outer knuckles. So when we think about like how injury happens, we get hurt when whatever impacted your body is greater than what your body can handle. So by doing something like this, where we're putting the ankle in a position where it's actually really unstable and then making it stronger, is reducing the chance that when you come into like contact with something that would otherwise have probably injured your ankle, your tissues are going to be a lot stronger and more flexible and ready to handle that. So you can literally think of it as sprain proofing your ankle. And then rotate the other way. 2 to 3 in the other way. Good. All right. Last one in this, last one standing up right here. So we had those outer borders. So we're just going to start to rock side to side here. So what I want to do is actually invert my ankle here. This is the position that most injuries, most sprains are actually going to happen. I want to stand almost on the outer border of that foot and very, very slowly start with all your weight. I'm starting with all my weight on the left leg, and I'm going to slowly rock a little bit of weight to that ankle. If you can't do this, if it's painful, seriously take it easy. It only works if you don't injure yourself in the process. And eventually, you get to a point where you can actually put all your weight on that inverted ankle, so you're a lot less likely to have that sprain. And then roll it back in, give it a little break. Then we can go the other way too. Collapse into the inside of your foot and try to put a little bit of weight there. You're not going to be able to rotate nearly as much on the inside of your foot. Then I'm going to rock back out, add a little bit of weight, shifting back to my standing leg, just like that, and then switch legs, 3 to 5 on each side.
Yeah, and this is stuff you can do on a, when you're just standing in line or waiting for whatever. Like, you can get so creative, and this is what why I personally feel like we get so jammed up is because we don't experiment with our joints as we age anymore. You look at kids, they can never stand still. They're always like jumping up and down. They're always doing random stuff like this or standing on one leg and stuff. But then as adults, we don't, we just don't move. So even if we're just at the grocery store waiting in line or whatever it is, like, you can just stand and do this. You can make it more subtle so it doesn't look as crazy if you don't like that other people to judge you. But there's so many little things that you can do that people won't even notice, and you're making more mobility gains than anybody else because you're paying attention to your body and moving more than essentially they are. Cool.
Sweet. All right, guys. So I'm actually going to stay standing here because I think we have a couple people in here that can't kneel. So we're just going to do a nice wide stance. How's everyone doing? We all good with the ankles? Cool. Stressed them out enough? Awesome. So nice wide stance here. What I want to think about doing is pushing my hips back and sinking to one side. Feel free to back the width of your stance off if it's a little much, but we're going for the adductors here. So we want a little stretch through the adductors. So a little side lunge, pushing back, and then coming back up, and we're going to switch sides. So again, we're not loading this leg nearly as much as we would be if we were going for a full lunge. Focus on pushing the hip back, and then just explore with your hip. If you point it out to the side, you get more of a stretch in the inner thigh. You get more of a stretch in the front. And just kind of, again, start that exploration with how your body feels and what ranges of motion feel extra tight. We're always holding for a few seconds, breathing, and then coming back.
Yeah, so the toughest part about this movement is if you look at Ryan as he's going down and is reaching the butt back, you want the knee to be directly over that bottom foot. And then the hip is almost in line with that knee. So most of the times, like, our knees are caving in. So starting from the ground, actually, so you can drop the knee down to the ground, it will be a lot easier for you to feel that hip. If you can't drop to the ground, you can be higher in that position, which is totally fine too. So in this position, you can do that exact same movement, and it's definitely a little bit easier for you to feel which muscles you're supposed to be feeling. So notice from here, it's got both hands supported with the ground and then sitting the butt straight back down to the floor. Yeah, so sit the butt down to the butt and then basically just rock back and forth onto the hands and back to the foot. Yep, and try keep your body facing right in front of you. So you don't want to be facing, like, the hands not by the knees, but straight in front of you. That's it, perfect. Yep, and same thing, just breathe, rock back and forth 5 to 10 times, and then switch over to the opposite direction.
Yep, then see how it feels too if you start to sweep your hands, if you can, towards this foot. That stretch will shift just a little bit. So like Andy was saying, kids are always doing a bunch of weird crap with their bodies, just trying to experiment and see what they're capable of. And it's a trait that we grow out of, so to speak. I know kids are kids and they move well because of their kids, but you know, what if adults could move more like kids because they started acting a little bit more like kids in the way they move? So really try to maintain that curiosity about how your body feels and how it moves, and don't chalk everything up to age.
Awesome. And next.
There we go. Cool. All right, so we're going to go from there, and we're going to go back into our supine position, or laying on our back. So all the way back down to the ground. So a few minutes ago, we did the upper body roll. We're going to move into a lower body roll here. So I want to take my hands. You can lay them out to the side. We're only doing a half roll here, so you can lay them out to the side, up above your head. We want to start. I'm going to bring my right leg up to 90 degrees. I'm going to think about reaching my heel about 45 degrees off to the side here. So I'm just going to rock my hips over. We're getting a lot of lower back, low spine mobility and hip mobility here. I'm just going to reach, breathe out. And as I breathe back in, I'm going to bring this knee back and set it down. 3 to 5 on each side.
Perfect. And make sure when you're inhaling, you're relaxing into it, exhaling, relaxing even more, and then just try and feel each part of your spine rotate a little bit at a time. See if each movement makes it a little bit more fluid. We're trying to build that sequential pattern of, like, hey, the knee is pulling onto the leg, which is pulling onto the hip, which pulls to the lower back, which pulls to the upper back, which pulls to the shoulder. You want that wave to happen within the whole spine to get your whole body to communicate with each other as one. Awesome.
There we go. All right, so we're standing the ground here. We're just going to come up to seated. So we're going to start crisscross here. We're going to come into like a shin box position. So rock off to one cheek, flip that leg out. Again, if this position is really hard to get to, feel free to just lean back, right? That's totally fine. What we're going to work on here, just like we did, I think we did this one last Monday. We're just going to flip the knees over, keep the feet where they are, flip the knees over, and just get that rotation there. So some of you might feel that stretch on the, I personally feel it like on the inside of my leg that's pointed across, or my left leg right now. Some of you might feel it somewhere else, totally fine. We're just getting a lot of mobility through lower back, through the hips. And generally, if we get the hips moving a lot better, then everything else tends to kind of fall in line. So if you're upright here, what we're going to start to do is push into that position. If you were leaning back, we're going to go ahead and try to lean into that full shin box with every rep. So every time you flip your legs, try to lean forward, get a little bit more mobility through your hips. Yep. And then if you were already upright, we're just going to be flipping through, and we're going to lean forward, feel a little bit of stretch through your hip. For me, it's my left hip here. Start to press my ankle and my knee into the ground, not just the knee. We want to get this whole leg involved here. So rotating my ankle down, leaning in, pressing my knee in, and then even using this foot a little bit. We're just going to come up with control, press through that hip. Sit here for a second, breathe very slowly with control. Start to come back down. We want to make sure we're not doing a flop down. We want to do this nice and easy. Flip it over. Do 3 on each side for this one. Lean in, press, coming down with control. Nice. And you might have one hip that's a lot tighter than the other. That's fine. Me too. When it comes to movements like this, it's very, very rare that we're perfectly balanced on both sides. All we can really do is seek to kind of close the gap between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this, no matter how you do it, you can do that just maybe one leg flopping back and forth if it's tough to do both. The whole idea is to teach the hips that it's allowed to rotate, because this is something that we don't do so many of the times. And as we age, you hear people getting hip replacements and all of that stuff, and usually it's because these joints don't like to move. And then one day you're stuck in a position or you trip, and the body needs to be in a specific area that it actually needs that range of motion, but it can't handle it, and then something snaps. So the more we can expose the joints to do this over time, and it gets to be able to be more resilient, then the less tension will happen. And if an emergency happens, the body can actually prep for it. So the chance of injury is a lot less. So this is a very, very good way to, keep the joints nice and healthy.
Sweet. All right, so we've been down in the shin box right here. We're going to come up to a squat.
What is that, Ryan?
All right, so we're just going to come up to a squat here. And if you can sit here nice and comfortably, that's awesome. If we can't get here, we're going to come up. We're going to go a little bit wider. We're going to come down, and I want you to put your knees, or your elbows, right on your knees here. And just see what that feels like. And if you can move your hips and your knees around, go for that. If you can get down low, awesome. We're just going to rock side to side and try to get those little knee circles. Try to make a little like figure 8 with your hips and your shoulders here. If you notice, if you watch my ankles here, as I come across with my knee, my heel is picking up a little bit. We're just exploring that range of motion. Reverse it. Again, coming back to what causes injuries. Injuries happen when tissues get overloaded. So if we can theoretically put our body in that position and get it used to it and get it to feel safe, then we're a lot less likely to get injured because our body understands how to deal with that position. Yep, we can rock forward so we can get a little more range out of the ankles here. So as I come forward, my heel comes up, I get some toe mobility there. Maybe the other leg. See if you can make a big circle. And just explore that position. Give everyone a few more seconds to play around with that. Awesome. All right, so last couple here. We're going to come up to standing, and then we'll finish off with a couple more on the ground here. So everyone go ahead, stand up. Shake it out a little bit if you got a little bit of a quad burn going on. How's everyone doing? Thumbs up? Cool. Awesome. All right. So we're going to do a little bit of standing hip mobility here. So if you need something, if you have a counter near you, something for balance, we're just going to do a little bit of single leg standing. So I'm going to rock onto my left leg here. I've got a mace for balance, but definitely challenge yourself. Try to do it without any help. I'm going to lift my knee up as close to the level of my hip as I can get it. And for anyone that's really having issues with this one, I'll give you an alternative here in a second. So knees at the level of my hip. Try to keep your hips tucked under, so we don't want to get caught here with our belly button out and then keeping our knee up like that. It's going to strain the hip flexor quite a bit. So tuck your hip under, lift. We're going to come out to the side with the knee as much as you can. Again, we're not trying to turn the hips, just the leg. We're going to roll the knee in, so the knee, top of the knee, starts to move towards pointing towards or forwards. You might feel a little bit of crampiness on the outside of this hip here. We're going to kick that leg back. So we feel maybe a little bit of glute activation on the leg that's up. And then we're going to come back to where we started. Right there. Coming out, flipping forward, kicking back, and driving that knee up, and then reverse it 1 or 2 times. Kicking back, lifting, rotating up so this knee points up, and then drawing it back in. So it's not meant to be super easy. So if it's hard, probably doing it right. And then make sure when you kick this leg back, we don't want to lose this integrity where our core is, right? So a lot of the time we're thinking about how far back can I kick this leg? And we wind up in this kind of like dolphin looking position here. We want to keep the abs engaged, keep your core tucked in as we kick back. And go ahead and switch legs here. That's just an example of how your lower back winds up compensating for your hip mobility.
Yeah.
Awesome. Get a couple more of those. If you, here we go. How's that?
That looks
Everyone able to do that one?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, and if you need support, you can definitely use support. And this will be very good to gauge, like, hey, I'm getting progress. Like, I actually couldn't stand on one leg before. One side was so much more unstable, but the more I did this, the less I needed support, and it became more balanced. That's a very good way to gauge, like, oh, okay, cool. I'm actually getting better at it.
Yeah. Sweet.
Awesome.
All right, guys. So we're gonna.
Good time.
Yeah, sweet. I'm gonna do one last one here. We'll do a little bit of upper body shoulder movement, and that'll be it for the day. Oh, nice dance, Nikki. I see that. All right, so we're gonna finish off real quick with a couple shoulder cars going forwards and back. So a shoulder car is just a rotation. So I'm gonna start with my right arm here. I'm reaching down towards the ground without rounding my body over. Reaching down, and I'm going to carve out as big a circle as I possibly can. So as I reach down, I'm going to scrape forward. My shoulder blade's going to scoop under, reaching forward now. I see this rounds a little bit. Then I'm coming up, reaching up, and as I get to this point on the top where my arm just doesn't want to go anymore, I'm going to rotate my palm out, but I want to keep this shoulder down. So do the best you can here. There's a lot going on with this movement. And I'm going to continue that rotation, keeping ribs in. We don't want to find this flare. And then rotating all the way through. 2 times forward, 2 times back on both sides. So as we go back, we're going to keep the palm facing across the body, just like that. And then as we get to this point where we really can't go any further, I'm going to rotate as far as I can up. So pinky should be pointing away from me. And I'm going to rotate all the way up again. Just like that. So really, really good movement to do first thing in the morning when you wake up, just breaking up all that junk that gets stuck in your shoulder that over months, years, decades tends to just stick your shoulder blade in one place. So if there's one shoulder movement you can do every morning, this is going to be it for me. Sweet. Yeah, guys. All right. So that's just an example of a little flow that you can use in the morning. For example, if you just need like a routine to do, that's going to hit most vital areas of the body. So you can always just tie all this stuff together in whatever way feels good. 100% do it every single day. You really can't do it too much. Never push into pain, and always breathe.
Perfect. Awesome. So, yeah, like we're always trying to figure out like how to put information together so that you guys can utilize it all by yourself. And Kylie just mentioned something really cool in a private chat that she said maybe we can make like a worksheet of all of these exercises and then have like yeah, of a thumbs up or thumbs down to see if your body responds to it or not. And whatever you respond well to, you just make a check mark by the thumbs up, and you essentially create your own workout spreadsheet and stuff. So I thought about that, and it's actually probably easily done, especially since my exercise database is already out there. I just sent it to everybody in the chat. If you want to download it there, you can. It's on the website. Most of my clients have it already. And then I also attached a couple of YouTube links for the releases of the top 8, and also the biofeedback, which is what we talked about, the toe touch thing today. So if you want to learn more about that and refresh it, and you can watch that as many times as you want, that's definitely over there. So next to that exercise database, I actually think for 3.0, we're going to have a bunch of more exercises on there, obviously, and these new ones will be on there as well. And I can make a little section next to it that's got like checkbox or whatever, so that you might be able to, I'm trying to think if there's a way to do that digitally, like you can make a checkbox on that thing, and then you just basically click on the videos that work, or you can print out that sheet on a PDF and then make those checkboxes and then just utilize those videos. Either or will work, but I think that's a very, very good idea for people to make their own database. That's what it's all about. And hope maybe that could be a whole new program or whatever it is. But thanks for the idea, Kylie. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you guys think about that as well? Like, do you think a checkbox and everything would be a helpful thing to be able to have? Awesome. Perfect. Cool. Yeah, so if anybody else has any other questions, feel free to unmute and ask them. So yeah, and then if not, then you can totally sign off and go from there.
Hey, Andy, is this considered like a stretch routine prior to a more vigorous workout?
Yes. Yeah, so this mobility just is opening all the joints up so that you have the potential to do more vigorous workouts. The problem is a lot of times we just don't mobilize enough and the joints aren't moving the right way, and you jump straight into a workout and then things get injured and stuff like that. So this is a very good way to give you ideas of how to warm up for your future workouts and stuff. Does that
Yeah,
make
you don't
sense?
need to do the full hour either. I mean, by all means, go for it if you got the time. But
Yeah. So yeah, like last time we talked about ankles and hips and all of that stuff, and you can literally just take 1 or 2 of these for each of those joints, which will take like 5-10 minutes, and then you're ready to go for your workout, and then go from there. Some days are just terrible, and if you just feel tight and this is all you need to do, highly recommend it. So you can kind of pick and choose of what you want to do.
Definitely feel real loose now, that's for sure.
Awesome. I love that.
sweet.
Very, very cool. Any other questions so far? Sweet. Okay. Awesome. Well, I guess that's it.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, we'll be on here for a little bit. So if you guys need to copy those links and stuff like that, go for it. And but thank you so much for joining. And then we'll have more things tomorrow and the rest of the week. All right.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you.
All right. Have a good one.